Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of the AD Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is going to join us in a second, but I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Now, these are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. I really want you to check them out. So, our sponsors include Gipper, Huddle, Hometown Ticketing, Snap, Raise, Vital Signs Wall of Fame, of course, K-12 Sports Tech, the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration, Home Campus, Sideline Interactive, and Athletic Surveys. So please, I used every single one of these companies. They're all great. I really recommend that you check them out. Now, let's go ahead and get on with the podcast. Welcome back, everyone, to another segment of the Athletic Director Think Tank on the Educational AD Podcast. Joining us for his second round on the Think Tank is a longtime friend of the show, longtime athletic director here in the state of Florida, Dan Comeau. Regular listeners will recognize that name. Dan was on the original season of the athletic director of the Educational AD podcast and contributed to the athletic director's toolbox. He's a Hall of Fame AD here in Florida. I don't know if I mentioned he's also a certified master athletic administrator. And he's a best-selling author. Dan's Mentoring Minute segments on the podcast, he turned those into a book called The Mentoring Minute. It's available on Amazon. Make sure if you don't already have a copy, add one to your desk, your briefcase, and it's a great resource for a coach's read, or if you're a county AD, for all the athletic directors in your county. That's The Mentoring Minute by Dan Comeau. So, Dan Comeau, welcome back to the AD Think Tank.
Thank you, Jake. It's great to be back, and hopefully we'll have a great discussion today about maybe relationships with officials.
Yeah, just real quickly, you and I have talked about this many times, both formally and informally. I think I've got a pretty good perspective on this, having been a head football coach, a longtime AD, and also a state basketball official here in Florida, and also I still continue to work as an official in track and cross country. But what do you have for our listeners this week about relationships with officials on the AD Think Tank?
Well, first of all, I think the officials are inherently looked at as the enemy once they walk into a building, many times by not only just coaches, but by parents also. And I think it's important as an athletic director, understanding that the athletic director is an event manager at this point, not a disciplinarian. And I heard this at a conference down in Fort Lauderdale. They were speaking. Your role as an athletic director is you are running the event. You are not security. You need to let yourself be available. And I think one of the important things is to be able to greet the officials as they come in, give them a safe place to change, a quiet place where they can speak freely amongst themselves, make sure that they have refreshments in their locker room or their venue, wherever they're at, and promote sportsmanship with them. That you're their friend, you're there to help them and guide them. You're not the enemy. And I think that's important, and it gives them a sense of security. As an athletic director, I always made sure, if it wasn't me personally, I had somebody to escort them to and from the locker room, to and from the dugouts, even to their cars in the parking lot, because coaches, parents, they get emotionally involved and they want to attack the officials. The officials are human. We all make mistakes, every one of us. Nobody's perfect, and people have to realize these guys are just doing their job. And I think athletic directors, probably the biggest thing for an AD is the high price that they have to pay for officials. But if you look at the profession of officials, they're getting older. there's a very few young people are getting into that profession, and you have to treat them like human beings and not the enemy.
Yeah, and again, it's just real quickly my own little journey as a younger head football coach. The expression "you don't know what you don't know" that was me. Um, I was I was that guy. Oh, come on, that's holding. Oh, you got to call that. Oh, yeah, yeah, just constantly. And I was fortunate to have some veteran assistants and some good ADs that, hey, Jake, you're going to get, you'll attract more flies with sugar than yelling at them. So I got better over the years, and I think I took those lessons with me as an AD most of the time to share with my coaches. But you're absolutely right. Officials are human. They make mistakes, and this is a question I will ask sometimes when I'm asked to speak on this subject. I'll ask ADs, what is your line in the sand for your coaches regarding their behavior with officials? Is it, hey, you got to call that. That's holding. Oh, come on. Or is the other line, throwing clipboards and f-bombing and, and things like that? So I'm curious. What are your thoughts on establishing and communicating a line in the sand for coach behavior?
I got a quick story I got to tell you. I had a basketball coach, and I kind of dubbed him the Bobby Knight of high school basketball. I mean, the guy had the best basketball brain ever, just a genius when it came to basketball, but hated officials. So we the game started. No, the warm ups were going on, and the officials walked off the court. You know how they stand out there and watch the pregame. And I went into the officials' room and I said, "What's going on?" They said, "We're not doing the game." And I asked why, and they said, "Your coach just brought a sledgehammer next to the bench." Now again, this guy's like Bobby Knight, and I thought, why is there a sledgehammer on the bench? So I went to the coach. I said, "Coach, what's going on? Why do you have the officials don't want to come out?" He said, "It's a show of strength and power. It's a symbol." I said, "Well, the symbol's going back in the locker room." And the officials came out and did the game, but they were afraid. It's like it was a threat to them, I guess. And you got to make sure that line in the sand. Sure, you can question stuff, but don't get belligerent and don't be insulting.
No, absolutely. And I would let a head coach, have a conversation with me, during timeouts. And as long as it was a conversation, hey, what did you see on that call? Or, your partner called that, what's going on? I would not tolerate any conversation from an assistant coach. And I'd let that head coach know very quietly, hey, if I hear another word out of him, you're getting teed up and you're going to be sitting down. But
Yeah.
again, it is a partnership, and you talk about coaches and ads. Boy, those officials' fees, they're going up every year, and all this stuff. I mean, it's true. I don't think officials are overpaid, just like I don't think any high school coach in Florida is overpaid. We could always use more, but um, the officials, from their perspective, when and we'll use basketball as an example, when that kid misses a free throw or has a turnover, the officials aren't running down the court and saying, hey, nice job coaching there, Steve, can't you work on that stuff during practice? They're not critiquing the coaches. And so I think they
Yeah.
deserve that same, or at least closer to a degree of that type of respect and trust. This, Dan, 9,999 times out of 10,000, when officials walk into a gym, they truly don't care who wins. They don't have a dog in the fight.
I really don't.
It's 50
No.
50. Or coaches and ADs and fans, they can turn that either way. they can make it 51-49 through their comments or their antics, or even make it 60-40 sometimes because officials are human. Okay. So
They are.
I would tell our coaches, over the course of, the season and their career, hey, let's make it 51-49. And officials love to come to our school at McClay. Our coaches did a wonderful job. I'm not saying I did a great job or they did it because of me. They did a great job. Officials love to come to us because our coaches, I told them, coach your kids. If you're chirping at the officials, who's coaching the kids? Well, the answer is
Right.
nobody. I'm paying
Right.
you to coach the kids. If there's a problem with the officials, you let me know.
And I think the experience that I've had in my lifetime when I was up in Massachusetts, um, I officiated. I was an umpire for Little League baseball. I officiated football, high school football, and I officiated high school hockey. So I know, where they're coming from, and you have your favorite teams, but when you're on the ice or when you're behind the plate, it doesn't matter. You call the game as you see it, you know, and that's the way I look at officials. If you watch Facebook, oh yeah, they're best friends with this one or that one at the National League. It's just a farce sometimes, but they're pretty honest.
Those are such great points. And it's a challenge because kids, high school kids, their parents, even our coaches, they're watching ESPN, they're watching the pros, and they see the antics of coaches on the sideline and sometimes even players. What were some things that you did as an athletic director with your student athletes and with your coaches to help promote this sometimes lost art of sportsmanship and respect?
Well, I think one of the things that I did was I always told a story. LeBron James, when he early on, he would always put chalk on his hands and throw it up in the air, and then the TVs would break for a commercial, and somebody, five guys would clean it all up. Well, there was a high school in Texas. A student did that, and it took them 20 minutes to clean the floor because they couldn't find a janitor. It's the difference between educational based athletics and entertainment based athletics. Entertainment based athletics is what you see on TV. Educational athletics is teaching kids teamwork, how to lose gracefully, how to win gracefully, time management, all those skills that you need in life. That's what we're trying to teach these athletes. And there's a huge difference between educational based athletics and entertainment. Hockey, for example, people love to watch hockey just because of the fights on TV. I coached high school hockey. There were no fights. If you fought, you were off for 6 weeks. It's the same in every sport. So people, and especially parents, have to know the difference between educational based athletics and entertainment.
Right, you're absolutely right, and it starts with the coach. If the coach, there's that just an awful call or non-call. A kid gets clobbered
Mhm.
in basketball or whatever. If the coach just reacts and to the situation, all right, let's get back on defense or let's do this. Nobody says a thing. The kids respond. The parents are
Mhm.
going, wow, well, the coach didn't get upset. It must have been a good call. And life goes on. And that coach has just tipped the balance of power, talking about power, 51-49 in his favor. I got to ask you this question. This was back during football season. There were two teams, two rivals. They're playing. The underdog, a massive upset, beats the favorite on their field, and then after the game, decides to plant a flag at the 50-yard line. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Okay. As a football coach, we I don't think flag planting was a thing back then when I was coaching, but I would tell our kids, hey, when we win, it was not if we win, when we win, you're going to find your teammates, we're going to celebrate, we're going to go shake their hand, and then we're going to find our fans. It was not about, planting a flag. We already beat them.
Right.
What are your thoughts on flag planting and post-game brawls, that sort of thing?
Well, I don't like the showmanship at that level, at the high school level. You win, you shake hands, you go home. There are situations that happen, and I would tell all my coaches too. If this, and I always, when I broadcast it, I call it the players exchanging pleasantries on the field. When they get heated, have your kids take a knee. They can't run out on the field if they're taking a knee, and just drop it there so that you don't have repercussions later on. But yeah, the showmanship and I just don't like it.
Right. And again, I've had this conversation with a couple other people. I'm right on point with you on that. Um, as far as the team that got beat, they're disrespecting us by planting a flag on our field. Well, hey, you just got disrespected for the entire game. They kicked your butt. Okay, so
Yeah,
if you don't want them to
yeah,
plant a flag, it's not fight night. If you don't want them to plant a flag, don't get beat. But again, I'm not in favor of flag planting at all.
yeah.
Dan, great tips for our listeners. We mentioned the book, The Mentoring Minute. It's on Amazon. Make sure if you don't have a copy, listeners, go get one or two. And you've got a great resource here. Dan, if our listeners wanted to reach out, connect with you, maybe even have you come to their school and present or their state conference, what's the best way that our listeners can get a hold of Dan Comeau?
Probably through my email. It is dcomeau19@comcast.net.
Okay. Well, Dan, thanks as always for sharing with our listeners. All the best moving forward and all the different things that you do. And we're definitely going to have to get you back on later this summer or in the fall for another segment on the think tank.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Jake.
For our listeners, we want to thank you and just remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of each interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this segment just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of education-based athletics along with a few best practices. So come back and please join us again for the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Thanks again for listening. Before we go, just one more time, give a shout out to our great sponsors. Gipper, go to gipper.com. Huddle, you'll find them at huddle.com. The Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration, that's ohio.edu/info/MAA. Home Campus, you'll find them at homecampus.com. And Sideline Interactive, of course, that's sidelineinteractive.com. Hometown Ticketing, you'll find them at hometownticketing.com. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack, that's athleticsurveys.com. Vital Signs Wall of Fame, you'll find them at vitalsignswalloffame.com. Snap Raise, that'll be snapraise.com. And our AD Think Tank sponsor, K12 Sports Tech, that's k12sportstech.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.